Which one? I don't know. Let me try it first, huh? It's not working, eh? Good.
Sorry.
Zip on.
Yeah.
Okay, it's all right. Dear brothers, dear sisters, dear colleagues, and dear collaborators in searching for wisdom, I greet you all. The theme of our reflection today is taken from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 7, verse 31 to 35. Could we just read it to refresh our memory? Since I'm not so sure of your Greek, let us have it just in English. Sister, please. So that we may have a feminine voice.
What then? What then? What then shall I compare? I hope I'm loud enough. Then shall I compare the men of this generation? And what have they done? They are like children sitting in the marketplace and calling to one another. If I do, we wait and we did not read. For John the Baptist has come eating no bread and drinking no wine, and you say, he has a demon. The Son of Man has come eating and drinking, and you say, the fool, the glutton and the drunkard, the kind of tax collector and sinner. Yet wisdom justified by God our children.
Thank you, sister. Dear brothers and sisters, the subtitle of my talk is Intertextual and Intercultural Hermeneutics. And this is not arbitrary. It's not out of ideology because I stand for enculturation. I don't like it so much somehow. But it's imposed by the text itself. I consider this talk also as teaching for you students, those who are students, not the great ones here. You don't treat any text anyhow. Let the text impose to you the methods you will use. The title is, first, what is original in a title is holy. Usually, most scholars up to now worked basically concentrating on the wisdom in the text or just on the play. Children playing at the marketplace. Some authors worked with such a title. But I see in the text a tension between two categories of people who are not clearly presented into the text. Those categories are the children of wisdom on the one side, and on the other side, Children of wisdom, we get it in the text almost directly at the end, in the conclusion. But it's not even stated clearly as children of wisdom. It is rather said, wisdom is justified by her children. So wisdom has children. And who are these children of wisdom? What is less visible in the text is my expression, children of folly. Actually, those who are not dancing well, according to the tune, when John Baptist was there, fasting, suffering as an ascetic man, they did not recognize the hand of God in his life. And when Jesus came, enjoying life, still they did not recognize the. So those ones are the children of folly. We'll try to deepen more what we mean by those concepts. First of all, what are we going to do here? We will discuss the title and problems and structure of the passage. Problems are very important, especially for you students. Most of the time, when I was teaching, I was still teaching. Now I consider myself as emeritus. Many students come to me saying, I want to do a work on Annunciation. And I ask, why? Why do you want to work on this passage? And most students will tell me, because I love this passage. I say, oh my God, no, we don't work on a text because we love it. Do you make research on HIV because you love it? Or because there is a need? We worked in biblical studies, we worked on a passage because there is a problem there. And I even dare to say, in case there is no problem, try to find one or create it. However, be careful. Don't fight with a false problem. If the problem is not real, you'll be wasting your time. So I raise some questions, problems, and that's very important. Because with such questions that we call heuristic questions, you can come to serious results. Then second time, we'll deal with the intertextual hermeneutics, Ecclesiastes and Sirah, Ben Sirah, and Proverbs. And we'll see the issue of wisdom music. There is a play here, piping and wailing, lamentation. We have joy and sorrow. And the problem related to the text, the first one, it's hard to recognize. First part of the first point, the children of wisdom, their transformation. We have in the text some not direct quotations. We have to make a clear distinction between strict quotation and allusion, echo. But we can see clearly that the author is referring to Ecclesiastes. But with some transformation, we see this transformation in the study. The wisdom through music, time, and history. Actually, this is a metaphor to express the problem of history, salvation history, and the necessity of a sharp mind or wisdom in order to interpret history. A problem related to the passage. The first one, it's hard to recognize the prophet and the Messiah. The prophet is John the Baptist, the Messiah is Jesus Christ. And we have here the problem of right interpretation of the signs of time. How to identify the genre of the story, that's another problem, a big one among scholars. Many call it parable, but it lacks some of the most important features of Jesus' parable. Parable itself is a big problem in biblical studies because it's taken from the Hebrew, mashal, which has many meanings. Mashal doesn't only mean parable, but it means also proverb, many other things. And therefore, it's a big issue. The question of parable is a big issue in New Testament because, especially in the synoptics, almost 1/3 of the synoptics is composed of parable. So, because I beg you who are studying theology, work hard on parables. Many priests, they don't preach well on parables at all. Most of the time, they are just taking again the story and repeat it in another way. Sometimes, most of the time, they even miss the point, the core of the story, the point of the story. So, learn well your parable, question of parable. Is it just a parable or a comparison? Strictly speaking, all Jesus' parables are comparisons, but all comparisons are not parable. One main feature of this parable that is missing here is that most of the parables of Jesus, what is the main theme? What is it? The kingdom of God. But here we don't have directly and clearly the theme of the kingdom of God. So I better call this a simile. That's from Greco-Roman rhetoric, more Roman simile. The third problem is how to determine the wisdom at stake here. Is it the wisdom of the children, the wisdom of Jesus Christ, or God's wisdom? I think all of them and together we will see better while analyzing the text. The third question, problem. What are the features of the children folly? Since this is one of the main contributions of my talk, we'll try to find out the characteristics of the children of folly through the investigation of substantial literature of the Hebrew Bible, especially Proverbs, the book of Proverbs, Sirach, Wisdom of Solomon, and so forth. Then, the problems of sources of the story. In fact, we don't have the story in the Gospel of Mark. We only have it in Matthew and Luke. What conclusion can we draw from this? We are obliged to admit the Q source. I will not deal so much with this. That may mislead you, and you will not get much about wisdom as such. All the speculation about Q, how they relate to Q, how Can we see Matthian specificities, the Matthian Sondergut? Do you know the Sondergut, Matthian Sondergut? They call it so. I have not created the expression. Who knows it? Lucan Sondergut. There is no Markan Sondergut. Who are in third year here? Hey. Okay, we call these special materials in English. The Matthian special material, the Lucan special material. We're not getting this. What is its Old Testament background? This is important. That one, we deal with this problem while dealing with intertextuality. And the issue of times for mooning and time for dancing in Ecclesiastes. And sixth question, why did Jesus in Q put the allusion to Ecclesiastes in the mouth of children and not that of another character? We don't have much characters in the story somehow, but he could have put it in the mouth of John the Baptist or Jesus himself. Somehow, it is Jesus who is saying the story, but putting it into the mouth of the children in a certain way. Since they said, what he said in the text, we tithe and you didn't dance. You didn't weep. The identification of the we is a big problem in the text. It doesn't mean that I'll solve all these problems, but we love problems. We love problems. We fish in troubled waters. What is clear is not interesting for us. Or what is clear, what seems to be clear, we make it unclear. And what is unclear, we try to make it clear. That is biblical studies. The seventh question is, how does dance relate to tears? The question is already in the Psalms, in the Psalter. How does lamentation link to what? What are the two big trends in the whole Psalter? Hey, brothers, sisters, I hope you still read the Psalter, or you still pray in the office. No, you have no excuse. I'm not, okay, Jesuits, I know they are not pious enough to read the breviary, but the other ones, sisters, what are the two main trends in the Psalter? Oh, no, not the old one, not the, but we have lamentations and thanksgivings. Now we have other genres and there are many others, but the two main trends in the whole Psalter, and it will come in the New Testament. I used to say the two pillars of the New Testament are passion, suffering, and Deu. Oh, thank God that you will not get me in your jury. Passion and resurrection. When you forget everything and people wake you up in the night around 1 a.m. and ask you, tell us what are the two pillars of the New Testament? Answer, passion and resurrection, suffering and glory. It's already in the Psalter. And what is it? Its function in the recognition of wisdom. God doesn't speak the same way all the time. It is his word is according to the problems of a specific time and period. The last question is, who are the children of wisdom? Are they the play of the disciples? Now we move. The structure is very important. Even if you are dealing with it, and it's enable you, it's empower you to grasp the spirit of a text. So we have the introductory question. To what shall I compare? To what shall I? We don't think we will then B. He said the answer to the question is they are like. What is very important is like, which is taken up from the Hebrew he, Greek hosts. They are like. It doesn't mean that they are really children. It's very important. When I see people who have done theology for 3 years, mistreating the scriptures like street preachers, I said, we just wasted our money to train these guys. Be careful with the text. A metaphor should not be taken as reality. Here is a metaphor. It doesn't mean that they are really children. Even he's talking also about old men of this time, comparing them to children. They are like children. And as children, it's mean here, children means they are bad boys. They are also women. So, sisters, you are not excluded. Bad girls. Well, no, bad girls don't go to convent. I'm not the one saying that. And the problem of stupidity or folly of this generation, through the allusion to Ecclesiastes, and the contrast between John the Baptist and the Son of Man. When you read this section, this verse, actually the children of these sinners, the problem with them is that they are demonizing John the Baptist as well as Jesus. And they don't fit. If we only remain with the criticism of John the Baptist, we may say they enjoy life, they stand for pleasure, hedonism, and they don't want asceticism. But now Jesus came behaving otherwise, and still they said, no, this one is, what's the accusation? The glutton. He eats and drink. What does it mean? Now find out. People who behave like this, how do you portray them? They don't see. They will not hear. They are the ones to answer. How do you, sister? Please. Do not understand. When I was teaching here, I used to say, you sisters, you women, especially African women, you should be 4 times better than the other ones. If not, who will even look at you? Even you can give the answer, 2 of you. If you don't give the right answer, I will give a report to the principal. How are you going to judge people like this? What do you think about them? They are witchcraft, African witchcraft. Okay, why do you say witchcraft? Listen, I'm still expecting it. We can not find the right answer. Yeah, man, brother. Okay, who has ideas? I don't think that we be right answer, but yes, here. How can we,
or how can I describe such people?
yes,
First of all, I see in these people, people who are inconstant in their judgment,
yes,
and also they cannot be satisfied.
but somebody who is not consistent in the judgment, how to call such a person?
Okay, Balthazar help me. The word actually is because the question of vocabulary.
Not consistent in his reason. How do you call it? Okay. No, hypocrites, that's another, that's moral damnation.
Stupid.
The person who is inconsistent in his judgments. Versatile, yes. And what again? When you write a paper and the lecturer writes inconsistent, rubbish, it means you are saying rubbish. And if you are saying you are writing rubbish, it is foolish. It is not logical. It is not reasonable what you're writing. Okay. So actually, you have to watch carefully. They are demonizing John the Baptist as well as Jesus, but actually, who are the real demons? They themselves. That's where we come. This is witchcraft. And we have it in the book of wisdom. Folly is associated to witchcraft in the book of wisdom of Solomon. So it's contradiction and folly. Hey, sisters, the answer was on the board and you could not see it. Somehow. In conclusion, wisdom is justified by her children. The conclusion is a conclusion of theodicy. Have you come across in philosophy? Have you come across this theme of the theodicy? What's the book, the biblical book, the most important biblical book dealing with the problem of theodicy? The book of Job. So wisdom is justified by her children. I wonder, when I was in philosophy, we were already fighting against it with these questions. Does God need to be justified? I don't like justification so much. I have a lady, the cook in the parish where I lived for 15 years. It was tougher. And whenever I said, yeah, but you didn't succeed in preparing this dish. She would try to justify, and I said, I don't like justification. Because you and I, if we fight, I'll crush you. And people will say, you are really unfair, Wilfred, to fight with just a woman. I never fight those who know me. I never fight with but he fight with Okay. Now, opposition between children of wisdom and children of folly. It is about reason. Second point, textual. The scrutiny of the allusion. Oh, this one is better. This is what we have in the original text. It is a time to it has become this. We type to you, and you did not dance. You wept, and you did not weep. It's not just a quotation. And so it is very important for colors. You get alert. You have to be vigilant and to see what are the little transformations in the text from the original one. And first, what do you realize? I come back again to Ecclesiastes. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. And what do we have here? We type to you, and you did not dance. We wail, and you did not weep. What is first? Don't you see any change in the order? Okay, somehow go back when you get to your home, to your room, do this exercise. That alone, you can work 100 pages on it. The problem we designate wisdom and God. Yes, that you see it better when you scrutinize the book of Proverbs. Wisdom appears first in the beginning, it said, also in combination with the book of the wisdom of Solomon. In the book, now, what is the name? It's considered, we are not yet in the idea of hypostasis. Are you teaching? No, you said you are teaching patristicos. Oh, it's lower. I'm also an historian of the New Testament. Okay, somehow. Now, the children of wisdom and the children of folly. Yet wisdom is justified by all her children. Who are they? They are the righteous ones, dancing well, according to the music's tune. Wisdom, in the book of wisdom, the first part of it is dealing especially with the righteous one. Wisdom doesn't come to anyone like this. This is the main difference of Jewish wisdom and Hellenistic wisdom. Wisdom is always associated to ethics. and to theology. Those two dimensions, ethical and theological dimension of wisdom. Wisdom exiles her sons and give help to those who seek her. Because she is helpful, what does it mean? Again, in the book of Wisdom, Solomon, we have it even in some translation. Wisdom is said to be what? What characteristic in her relationship to humankind? Yes, she loves humankind. And what's the Greek word for this? Those who are in the US, they like that word. In Greek, it is a Greek compositum. Philanthropic. It's very important. Wisdom is philanthropic. Now, bad interpretation is folly and bad faith. This is very important. The main problem of the people of this generation, they are of bad faith. Whatever you will do, you will criticize. Because they are not sincere, they are not of good faith, they are not willing to listen to whom? Yeah, they are not ready to listen to God and to wisdom. They prefer rather to do what they want. Therefore, what are the characteristics of the children of folly? The first one, they do not beg according to the religion of the king. Somehow. You know, okay, somehow. When you put one music, they are dancing another thing. You say, these people, what are they doing? The second failure is they are unrighteous and wicked. That's where they are witches. As if God does not exist. This is very important. They don't care about God. They are not listening to God. And we have in Psalm 13, the fool says in his heart, there is no God. This merits a dissertation. And a criticism again of some of the simplistic way of presenting African thought, that African are incredibly religious, they are lies. African vitalology of life with tempest, all these are lies. Be careful. Let us move to a more critical theology. Even in the Bible, we experts, they call it practical atheism, but it is clear. They say there is no God. But notice, what do you notice here? Unlike the case of Nietzsche, Marx, and Freud, what is special about this statement here? They say, where do they say? Yeah, that means they don't dare to say that. I will If you want to deepen the issue, go to Abraham. I took his translation. Now, the play is not restricted to children physically. It is a merrymaking in general, and even the fooling of the practical joker. Wisdom is Yahweh's delight, and in turn finds her delight in the children of men. She plays in the presence and also in the inhabited. To play has something elsewhere, sometimes elsewhere, has here display vitality. So we should not reduce it to music, but to movement. And this only in one God that can dance. What does it mean? Are there Nietzschean experts here? I will believe only in one God who can dance. It's a whole criticism of the unmovable mover of Aristotle, the mortal, the first mortal of Aristotle. It's a criticism of fixism, a metaphysical fixism. And in India, you have this wisdom of one God presented as dancing God. Dancing God is a God of movement. It's because it's a God of creation, not a God who doesn't do anything. Some of the representations of now on intelligence and folly, and I quote Hosea, this is very important. All theological students in Africa should put this in the room. I quote, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because you have rejected knowledge, I reject you from being a priest to me. So, for a master, if you find any stupid ones, especially those of my province, let me know. We will not ordain them. I already have enough of stupid priests. They are a big danger. A big danger. Because they don't know what they are saying. How can they lead the people of God? Polly leads her children to ruins. Now, the third and last part, intercultural pragmatics. Okay. You want me to stop already? Intertextuality, in fact, do you want me to say what's happened? Okay. We can see in the course of history of the idea of wisdom and folly, that Israel knew a lot of periods. At one moment, she was in interaction with Egyptian and Mesopotamian wisdom. And she has to readapt, to adjust to that wisdom. Later on, Israel was faced with Greek, not just while receiving other elements from other cultures. And then we have to learn from this application to Africa. There is a song, a great song, a Yoruba song. Babaoli Keteke. I don't know who here know. When I was a kid, my father used it's me. Oh, so they went down and they continued their travel. And you see a father, his son, and the horse, and his father and son were walking. And they met other people saying, hey, you guys, how foolish are you? How can you be walking and the horse is just running empty? So the father put the son on the horse. He met another group. People say, hey, you foolish old man. Why do you leave your child on the horse and you are walking? So he removed the son and went on the horse. And he met again another people. Saying, hey, are you heartless? How can you be riding the horse while your child is walking? So in conclusion, he says, whatever you do, we criticize. It's a song, eh? What does it mean? We have to be careful and concretely critical. Another story. It's about adventure, long journey, with only one recommendation. We will travel all over the world. But observe this, wherever you go, make notes, ties. The first son, the recommendation of the father literally. So whenever he comes to a place, you take the herbs and tie them. This is not. The other one, whenever he comes to a place, he greets the people, sit down with them, talk with them, make ties, friendship with them. At the end, the father congratulated the last one, saying, you are a good child, and blame the first one. I will say this. The first son was just stupid and foolish. You should not take literally what he said. You should be wise enough to interpret what has been said to you. Dear brothers and sisters, wisdom is important and great for your salvation. Beware of simplicity, the absolute need for right interpretation. Hermeneutics, for hermeneutics, right hermeneutics, we need wisdom. There is another Nigerian story of the wise old man and foolish king. On YouTube, you can go. Just put wise old man and foolish king. Now, we have some theses out of all this. The first one is children's wisdom is characterized and poverty of heart. Second thesis is wisdom's stance consists in understanding history and interpreting the signs of time. Third thesis, children's wisdom are children of God, philosophers. Fourth thesis, to reach children's wisdom, you need good faith and not bad faith. You have to be sincere. You have to check out through your heart, make it pure in order to pursue. If not, you will not find it. The dialectic of wisdom in history is a dialectic of continuity and break, not just continuity. And the problem with African theology or philosophy is that we just want a continuity. It's not even a continuity. We just want to conserve. Conservatism. No, it's not so. It is stupid to be conservative. We have to move with the change. I already mentioned Nietzsche. Sixth point is the theology of times is neither an adaptation theology or a conservative or pessimistic theology. It's the theology of history, made up of surprises, joys, and pains, thanksgiving and lamentations, life and death. So it's up to us to recognize, to interpret well the signs of time, the right interpretation. And we have a lot of problems today that are in need of the right interpretation. Seventh and the last, from history, we learn hope and join the beginning and conclusion. I thank you all.
Can we give another round of applause? I was wondering if Dr. Okambawa will talk about wisdom without mentioning Ekima. And he only surprised me at the end by mentioning Ekima. So thank you very much for this presentation, teaching us to understand how to do exegesis, which is different from eisegesis, bringing, the message out of the text by problematizing the text, by seeing the problems. Some of my students here will tell you that the first thing I usually tell them is to read the text at least 20 times, at least, so that they can bring out all these questions. And so thank you very much. Thank you for also showing us that to understand the Bible, we need intertextual reading. And the way you've done it from Luke chapter 7, going back to the book of Ecclesiastes, Qoelet, going to the book of Proverbs, going to Ben Sirach, it shows that you really have the biblical tradition, the biblical culture. And with this, you're able to interpret to us and to show us who the children of wisdom and the children of folly are, basically going back to the old tradition of the two ways, the ways of the righteous and the ways of the wicked. And thank you also for ending with this intercultural hermeneutics, showing us the movement from Palestinian Judaism to Hellenistic Judaism, to see how the wisdom of Israel interacted at the time with the wisdom in the Mesopotamian world and the Egyptian world. And based on that, you help us to see the importance of contextual theology, bringing it back to Africa, contextual theology. Thank you very much, Dr. Wilfred Okambawa. Thank you. And so we still have about half an hour to go. We have questions to ask. For those who are online, at some point we got to 42 people online. You can simply just put your questions in the chat and we can take it from there. And so for those who are here present, we can take at least 3 rounds of questions. If they are not too long, let's just go straight to the questions and we take it from there. Thank you. So we take 3 questions at the same time.
Thank you, Father Okambawa, for your wonderful presentation. Since no one doesn't want to ask a question, I will start because I love problems. Father, you said that from the passage, Luke 7:31 to 35, we can see the children of wisdom and also the children of folly. I would like to know if behind this passage, it's possible to read a worldview which implies a dualistic or a gnostic or maybe a manichaeistic worldview, whereby we see in one hand the children of wisdom and on the other hand the children of folly. And if that is the case, what could be the theological lesson? Should it be something that we should overcome, or should it be something in which we should find a lesson, a theological lesson for today?
Yeah, mine is a simple one. Just
Please tell me the names.
I am Festus.
Festus.
Yes. Just before you delved into the material proper, if I heard clearly, a mention of the people of today are a problem. Africans are a problem. And for me, I was a bit taken aback and I said, could you please help us to understand this better so that probably I felt that was a bit harsh, so to speak, but maybe you could help me to understand this assertion better. Thank you.
I think for now we have only two questions, so you can go ahead, please.
Thank you. The question of Cabaret, thank you for that question. You are wondering if it's a dualistic, manichaeistic, agnostic view by opposing. No, we not. We not. It is true, especially in the book of Proverbs, that we have at best the position between wisdom and folly. But actually, to explain this opposition, it's not enough just to say it's not dualistic worldview, manichaeistic. All these things, they came later. Historically, they were born from this situation of Israel as the elected people in themselves in the dialectic that is common to all people, we and the others. Actually, to say the truth, when you have studied philosophy, when you compare Greek philosophy to the so-called Jewish wisdom, the so-called Jewish wisdom at first sight appears to be very weak. Very weak. What was the problem? Whenever Israel was meeting another great nation or great Gentiles, and the Gentiles were powerful. In the time of Assyria, the Persian Empire, and Egyptian Empire, and the Greek Empire with Alexander the Great, and Roman Empire with all the Caesars and all these things. Actually, Israel was always very weak, and even on some point culturally weak. However, Israel was aware of two strengths, mainly being elected. We are the elected, we are the chosen people of God, and also trying to follow the law of God, which is not so original. Do not kill, the 10 commandments. It's already in the Code of Hammurabi. The specificity of Israel is to say, I get mine laws not from human beings, but from God. Sometimes those who knows me, my companions, when I get annoyed, I tell provincials and superior, my vocation, I got it straight from God. Yours, I don't know. Yours, I don't know. So it's a way of doing things and handling things. It's a way of Israel to define herself in relation to other people, other nations who are called Gohim. So for Israel, in spite of this objective weakness of the wisdom of other people surrounding her, Israel will deeply think the law is our wisdom. Then there was a move to, and we see that 9 chapters of the book of wisdom of Solomon are just an attempt to interpret the history of Israel and the law as wisdom. And that wisdom was already at work in that history. And that this wisdom, instead of the Greek wisdom, is neutral. It doesn't necessarily need God. But here, Israel, because of her polytheistic belief, has to strengthen the fact that her wisdom is divine and disqualify thereby other kind of other types of wisdom. So that's how the dualism came out, what we may call dualism, but actually it's not dualism. It is because we are confronted with other people. The other ones, it's actually the problem of I and others. Buber, Martin Buber, after the Second World War, all these things, they took up again and again this issue. We may say today, how do we define ourselves as Africans in relation to the rest of the world? Do we feel that we have a specific mission? And I do believe this, a person and a people without a mission is like a traveler without destination, You just wander here and there. And actually, this is a bit the situation of Africa. And I strongly blame philosophers and theologians for this. I blame the king. Right now, what have you done? What is your theology of wisdom? Now I come to my brother Festus. You said it's harsh. Oh, I've been very nice to you. To say that Africa is a problem. Africa is a disease. It's even AIDS. It's Go and read the suffering servant of Isaiah, the first song of the suffering servant. That is what we are. All the evils in the world, we can eat them. Are we innocent? I'm not saying this in order to, because I'm pessimistic. I'm trying to be realistic even. Do you know any other continent suffering more than us? Okay. You may like that I say nice things on you, like some of the African theologians saying Africa is wonderful. This is childish. Please, wake up. Wake up. Let us change the way of doing theology. Let us be critical. We made prophet of doom in Africa. There are too many people outside there saying nice things. I'm not here because of money. I don't want anything from Hekima. I have to say what I think. I'm not trying to please anyone in order to get money. I'm not talking because of my own interest. So let me be free to say what I think, even if it may not be. And I wish you. But let us say outside there. Yes.
Thank you, Father Okambawa, for the good talk. My question is about a possibility of doing.
Please, what's your name, please?
My name is Christian. Yes, I want to know if there is a possibility of provide to us a ecclesiological perspective of this text, because you have told us about the tradition of the two ways. There is this temptation to demonize the other. We have the way of wisdom and the way of folly, and we see that in our church in the past there was also this kind of two orthodoxy and heresy. The church as the community of people being saved than the others, but today we have more in a conciliant, I can say, perspective of synodality. We don't no longer to call people heretics, but dialogue, and we have also the interreligious dialogue. The others are not people who are, I can say, damnation, but even the Pope say that all the religions are ways to salvation. So how can we understand this this perspective of wisdom and folly in such a lenient vision of the world and of religions? Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Prof. Wilfred.
Your
My,
name, please.
my name is Aganze. My name is Aganze. You quoted Hosea chapter 4, verse 6, and of which you made a comment which made us laugh, but it was a grave comment. I would like to know, in our world, we are overwhelmed by a lot of things today, social media and a lot of things. I would like to ask you, what can our schools of theology do to train priests who are true seekers of knowledge, wisdom, and God?
Okay, my name is Stanley. I have read this Gospel of Luke chapter 7 from verse 31 to 35. And oftentimes what comes to my mind is what you said is bad interpretation, which is bad faith and the rejection of people sent by God. So my question is, do we need exegesis to understand the Proverbs? Is it Proverbs? The parables of Jesus in the gospel.
So, Mambev, please go ahead.
Thanks.
Sorry, if I may add one more question online, and then we end it here. Thank you for the presentation. I'd like to ask whether the question of wisdom has anything to do with education in Africa. In other words, how is it that we have schools and graduates on the one hand, but also problems that kill due to lack of wisdom on the other hand?
Thank you so much. Okay, that's a lot of questions at the same time. Christian, the ecclesial dimension of the issue of wisdom in a time of pluralism. Yeah, we are in a time of pluralism. It's true, it's good, it's great. But this pluralism not to bring us to forget who we are and to stand for what is the truth or what we hold as truth. It's true, the history of the West was a very troublesome one. And because of imperialism and all these things to try to reduce the whole world, a reaction, especially after Second World War and after the experiment of the Council of Vatican II. Yet we cannot just be swallowing everything and just saying everything is nice, everything is okay. No. As Christians, as people listening to God, listening to the Spirit, we will have always to discern the truth, to discern the message of God for our time today, to reinterpret the word of God for our people today, and to proclaim it, even if people may be unhappy. What I fear the most today is a theology of complacence. I mean, a theology whereby we want to please people. You do not do theology to please people. Just proclaim what God has said. It's very dangerous to speak on behalf of God. There are many people who exaggerated, who oppress people, pretending that they are speaking in the name of God. However, a real preacher and theologian doesn't speak so much on his own behalf, but rather on the behalf of God. So, independently even to theology, we have to seek for objective truth and stand to that truth, proclaim that truth, even if we have to be killed. I used to tell Jesuit, I'm sorry that there is no Jesuit in prison today. I wish more would have been killed, but as martyrs. If there is no Jesuit in prison today, if no Jesuit is being killed in Africa, it means Jesuits are not real Jesuits. It means they are trying to compromise with the world. They are trying to be nice with the people of. They are everything. All the ingredients are there outside there to be a martyr. Yes, when you say people will be unhappy, they will try to kill you. But they love you, even love you. Oh, Jesus, I prayed. Oh, whenever I say people are praising Jesus, I run away from that place. I say, this is bad. This is bad. They praise us. We are lost. We are lost. The words always like what is like him or it. So if the words appreciate us, that means we have become worthy. We are not making any more a prophetical difference. We are no more challenging to the world, to this world. We have compromised. We enjoy life. We have nice cars. We are wearing nice dresses. Even we have good girlfriends, bad guys with bad guys with wonderful, beautiful girls. Okay, that's what I have to say to this. Even if we are struggling for union, for religious dialogue, we have to seek wisdom and truth and stand for it without arrogance. The second question, as Agonzi, is about Hosea, chapters 4, verse 6. Two seekers of knowledge, wisdom, and God. Yeah. We may seek, sometimes I wonder if it's not easier to judge intentions. Only God knows why we are all sitting there. Are we really seeking him, or are we here because it's nice being a Jesuit, even if you only have 3 meals? They are average meals, but at least you have them. Are we here for these benefits we may get, or are we here really for God? It's not easy to answer that question. And the question is not only a question of today. When you go to the Gospel of John, chapter 6, after the multiplication of the bread, people were seeking Jesus. And Jesus was quite aware and asked them, are you looking for me? Are you not looking for me because you have what? You have eaten bread. You have eaten bread. Are you looking for me for myself or for the benefit you may get from me? And it's good always to ask the question. There is no definite answer I myself, I still ask myself, why are you doing all this, Wilfred? Are you seeking for your own glory or the glory of God? The Jesuits are expert in this. They put a lot of things in the name of the glory of God. Ad maiorem Dei gloria. But they are seeking their own glory. You have to discern constantly. So that's what I have to say. And that you do it by prayer. I'm not the type of person to send quickly to devotional and all these things. No. I'm rather a type of person who usually says we have to worship, allow us to worship God also with our heads, not only with the heart. However, we have to make discernment, to be prayerful, really, to try to struggle to have a pure heart. To have a pure heart, a pure intention. That's a wonderful thing in the teaching of Buddhism. Purity, pure heart, pure mind, pure thought, and pure action. Everything has to be pure. Good. Stanley, do we need exegesis to understand the parable? Yes and no. Yes, because sometimes they are tough and complicated. I'm trying to write a commentary on the parable of the so-called prodigal son, more than 10 years now, in more than 250 pages. It's not ready. It's not ready because it's hard stuff. There are problems there. So, okay, I don't say that everyone should read the biblical scholars. I know we are crazy also. I know we are difficult, but please do not bypass the biblical study. Do not repeat them stupidly. That's also not good for many preachers. But do not ignore us. I was sharing with a sister last time, and I said, okay, you should not take this approach, but you cannot ignore it, given the text, given the situation. So today, you cannot say that you are a Catholic priest and ignore completely what the biblical scholars are saying. Even if you don't agree with it, know your enemies. I recommend to you, know your enemies, even things you don't like. I wrote a contribution on the dictionary Africa, the first dictionary of African theology. And they asked me to write on culture. And I told them, I'm not for enculturation. You are asking me to write an article on culture. This will be terrible. And I say, if you don't like enculturation theology, know it well. Don't like something, know it well. Know it even better than those who pretend to defend it. So if you don't like biblical studies, try to find out the weaknesses, but do not ignore it. If not, it's like politics. If you don't do politics, you'll be done by politics somehow. Now, Brother Stephen, wisdom and education in Africa is a whole failure. Education in Africa, it's not even education. I was still here when my friend, Professor Mugambi, Jesse Mugambi, this is one of the brightest brains in this country. And we were discussing on the issue, and he was telling me, no, actually, there is no education in Africa. We only have instruction. We have to make a clear distinction between instruction and education. Education is broader and deeper, and it is about forming, training the whole human being in all his dimension, culturally, theologically, humanly, psychologically, and all these. And I'm happy that you raised that question. I think it's because you are coming from the Old Testament.
Is your question raised online?
Is it not yours?
Not mine. So
Who
go
raised the
ahead,
question?
please. Rugaba.
Okay,
Yes.
Mr. Rugaba, or Mrs. Rugaba. The question, we go back to the Jewish tradition whereby the Musa in the book of Proverbs have been translated by the Septuagint with when the Jews meet Hellenism by idea. And this is very important. Idea, that means education. Therefore, the Torah, the law, has become a school. It will come again in Galatians that the law is considered by Paul as it doesn't mean here directly the educator, but some translations have schoolmaster. School is good. The school wisdom. Of wisdom you believe in, the wisdom you incarnate. Let us seek for wisdom, divine wisdom, and then we will be really divine. Tell me your wisdom, tell me your education, and I will tell you who you are.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wilfred. If you will permit me, there is a very good question from online community, and it will also be an aberration for you to finish your conference without me asking a question, you see. So please, if you will permit me, I know it's already time, we just take like 5 minutes before we go for Mandazi break. And those who are to come back will come back. The first question, thank you. This is coming from Karin Tarla. Thank you, Father Okambawa. You insisted on the 2 pillars of suffering and glory and casually asked if God needs to be justified. The theodicy question. How does the personification of wisdom as a woman in Proverbs 1-9 intersect with the portrayal of suffering and divine justice in Luke 7:31-35 and the book of Job? That will be the first. Now, my question will also be about something related to this, which is about wisdom. When you read this Proverb 1-9, we have the image of wisdom as a woman personified. When you read Sirach 24, you also get this understanding of wisdom, from the perspective of creation. Wisdom created everything. And then you go to John 1, wisdom appears as a person, Jesus himself. So, how do we put all of this tradition together to better understand the personifications, I would say, of wisdom? And 2, you mentioned briefly about this, but you didn't go into details. Is wisdom created? Is wisdom engendered? They are not the same. Is wisdom God? Thank you.
Okay, so there are 2 questions. The one is Sister Karen, personification of wisdom and suffering. The link and wisdom as a feminine figure. The personification of link between personification of wisdom and suffering, we get it under the Hebrew concept of Musa. Musa is very important. Very, very important. The Musa, I may say, this is the prefiguration of the cross in the Old Testament. in some Bible, it is translated by discipline. Discipline. But it is a kind of education linked with suffering. And in the book of Proverbs, it's very clear. Actually, the book tends to defend or accept a corporal punishment that is strongly rejected today. I think I don't defend corporal punishment, but I do believe there is no real education without suffering or the fear of suffering, at least. Therefore, even if we don't believe necessary in the idea of hell, the suffering, a perspective of suffering in the future may bring us, in case we don't have a real wisdom, at least to act, to behave well, out of fear. Out of fear. It's not yet perfect ethics. A good ethics should not be based on fear, but rather on what? Herring, herring. Ethics, moral theology. What has he done? The great revolution of Bernard Herring, a Redemptorist. He renewed the whole ethics and moving it from law ethics to love ethics and making it more biblical. Because most of our ethics, Catholic ethics, has been shaped by Aristotle. And it's not always good, or Stoicism. It can be misleading, and we may lose the original breadth of our spirituality. So, sister, I would say for the Jews, real wisdom, you can gain it only through suffering in a certain way. In a certain way. So this may reach converge with the Greek Hellenistic thought, according to which, especially in Plato, to philosophize, to learn what? How to philosopher, c'est apprendre à mourir. Hey, your philosophy is weak. No, it's true. The main reason why I'm doing this talk, I'm giving this talk on this subject, is the link between, it's because you are called Ekima, and the link between philosophy and theology. We are not doing it enough. Although we study philosophy, we are not using it enough in our theologizing. And it's sad. So, sister, I don't pretend to answer your question or even less to satisfy you, but that's what I have to say in such a short time. Now, Father Steve, you take my own words and you problematize it and you turn it back to me. What does it mean? Now, is wisdom created, gendered, of God? I will say it's a historical move. That's where historical criticism is necessary. We cannot completely avoid it. That's where I warn students, do not just be satisfied with rhetorical criticism or literary criticism, narrative theology. No. Sometimes you are obliged to go back to history and to see the development of ideas. So at the first level, at the first moment of the history of Israel, with the contact with the wisdom of Amenhotep in Egypt, they believed that wisdom is created. There were wisdom deities in the surrounding milieu, Maat in Egypt and all these things, and Athena in the Greek tradition. There were wisdom deities. Yet, at this first level, Israel didn't accept wisdom as God directly. In order to avoid, we may explain this, in order to avoid polytheism. So, wisdom is important. She was there in the beginning. You see the contradiction, beginning and at the same time created. It's just in order to downplay a bit that wisdom is not God because of monotheism. Now, the second moment was wisdom has been engendered. And even in the mythology of the New Testament, what does it mean to be engendered? How can he be engendered and be eternal contemporary to the Father? Because with the idea of gendering, it's always the problem of time, priority. Who is prior? The Father and the Son. Is there any Son without Father? Is there any Father without Son? Okay, now we get into systematics. Where are they? They all run away. Systematicians. They are funny guys. Eh? Where is Foro? Where is Marcel? Okay, Marcel apologized. Okay. We cannot go into all these details, but all what I have to say then is God. You realize later on in the third phase that wisdom is God, especially with Paul. In Pauline literature, especially Corinthians. Actually, the choice of my theme is in continuity with my dissertation, Paulus und Sophia, Paul and wisdom. 1 Corinthians, the first chapter, the question of wisdom of the word and wisdom of the cross. There are different, various types of wisdom. And again, in the line of the history of Israel, Paul is saying here that the wisdom of God is revealed in the cross. And the people of the world, they consider that wisdom as foolishness, but the wisdom of the cross consider the wisdom of the world as a folly. So there is a dialectic. It's a very nice passage. Go and read it in order to have some headaches and be sleepless in the night. That will be wonderful for you.
I think Dr. Okambawa deserves again a round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. We now move to the next on the agenda, which is our vote of thanks. And so may I invite Father Benedict Ebogu to please do us the honor of thanking Dr. Wilfred.
Dr. Wilfred Okambawa, in your words too, you told us of a time of lament and a time of thanksgiving. So this would be a time of thanksgiving. And we want to thank you for challenging us. And here at Tekima, as you know, we love being challenged. And our thanks first begins with the very analytical, intertextual, and intercultural hermeneutics of Luke 7, verse 31 to 36. You've engaged this text, coming up with 7 theses, one of which is the dialectics of wisdom in history, as both constitutive of a sense of continuity and break, a food for thought for we here in this part of the world. And you've also done justice to the critical application of these within an African context. I was also waiting for you not to mention Hekima. And even now that you've mentioned it, I still feel you did so reluctantly. But that will bring me to my second point. I want to thank you for your commitment to Hekima. Amid your various responsibilities, that you took the time and the energy to organize and request for this conference. It is a lesson that we must learn for those of us in the faculty and for the students as well. It shows that wisdom that is divine is dear to you, and Hekima, in its concrete way of searching this same wisdom, is a commitment that you would you show. And my prayer and my hope is that this would just be the first of many other conferences from you. So I would invite us to give him a rain clap. That is not a rain clap. So I will teach you a rain clap. So we all begin with one finger. Let's go. 2 fingers. 3 fingers. 4 fingers. And 5 fingers. Thank you very much, Dr. Wilfred Okambawa. I think it is appropriate to also extend our thanks to the organizers of this conference, the principal, the deputy principals, the academic dean, who is also the moderator. Please, let's give them an applause. We also say a big thank you to the ICT department, ably led by Abel. We thank all of you here present for you to have taken the pain and sacrifice to be here during your reading week and ever increasing assignments. I think you deserve a resounding applause. And we wouldn't leave out our online companions. You did not only follow the conference, you participated actively with your questions. So we thank you as well. And lastly, all thanks goes to Almighty God, divine wisdom himself, now and always, through Christ our Lord.
So we thank also the one who has been thanking us. Thank you very much, Father Benedict Ebogu. Before the final closing prayer, this is just to remind those in the second year of theology that they have a short session with Dr. Wilfred Okambawa after here. And immediately after here, we proceed to the Tarimo Commons. The faculty has organized a Mandazi break for you. Just also to say thank you for coming. So please, after the Mandazi break, those in the second years can come back to this auditorium. And I'll call on...
Mandazi break.
It is part of the wisdom of Hekima. Yeah, so just a tea break. Yes. So I now call on Dr. John Luke Enyege to please close this session with a prayer.
Our help is in the name of the Lord. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit. Mary, seed of wisdom, in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Moi non plus.